anytime a player goes through a shooting slump and that player is a shooter, there are going to be things that go through their mind that are unfortunate. There are things that are going to go through their mind that most people might not think are reality. But when you are a person that is viewed as a shooter, yes, no shot. Sometimes you might think that you are not as important. You are not as significant on the court as other players on your team. Justin Ahrens has gone through a shooting slump, and it's not just a shooting slump, it's been a scoring slump. And it's really been odd to see how he has shot the ball and how it has affected his mentals. Justin Ahrens scored 14 points yesterday against Maryland. The last time he scored the last time he scored at least 10 points in a game was also, he also scored more than 14 points, was December the 8th against Townsend. He only has 4 games this season where he has scored at least 10 points. He had 17 points against Seton Hall. That was a neutral site game. I believe that was in Florida. And then he also had 11 points against Bowling Green State. That was the 3rd game of the season on November the 15th. As a shooter, Justin Ahrens, he knows how important his shot is. He knows how important it is for him to be somebody that not only Chris Holtmann, the assistant coaches, but also his players can rely on. When the ball is in his hand, he's going to rise up, lock and load, and put that thing down. Justin Ahrens yesterday, he ended up shooting 57% from three, but for the previous games, it was bad. 25%, 20%, 20%, 25%, 25%. Against Northwestern, he went 0 for 5 in that game. Previous shooting before that, 33%, 20%, 25%. Of course, when he played Townsend, he shot 5 of 10 from downtown, had 50% shooting from three. But you see how odd it is. He is a three-point shooter. He is a three-point shooter that is a lefty. These are things that are niche things. These are things that are ways that you can attack a defense in a very special way. But also sometimes when you go through those shooting slumps, your mindset's going to be a little off. And you may think things that might not be reality, but to you they are based off maybe a few things you've seen out of the 1,000, 2,000, or 3,000 things that have been said about your shooting woes. Here is something Justin Ahrens said in the post-game press conference, and something that he said might pop out to you. Here's exactly word for word a little quote from Ahrens in the post-game press conference. Quote, obviously, I'm a shooter. So when I'm not making shots, I feel like I'm almost useless out there. The coaches told me I'm one guy that can be out on the court and not hit shots and still have a positive impact on the game with a bunch of different things. My communication, rebounding, talking on defense, just the little things that some guys don't bring to the floor. Just staying with it each and every day was the main thing for me to get through that stretch. It's frustrating because it feels like the whole fan base is against you when you're not doing what you're supposed to be doing. But for me, it was just one day at a time, just being an everyday guy like I've been all 4 years here. I find that odd. I find that strange. And I find that maybe that he, as a youngster, is reading too many articles or is on the Twitter way too much. Honestly, I don't know many beat writers that would say he's unimportant. I mean, I've talked to a few. I might try to get Adam Jardy back on the podcast here really soon. But I don't know many people out there that would say that Justin Ahrens is letting the fan base down or that Justin Ahrens is not a big piece of this team. I still think, yes, there are deficiencies out there when he's on the court. That is true. Now, if he's not hitting a shot, there are legitimate deficiencies that are out there. That's you can't hide that. The film's going to say exactly is going to confirm exactly what I just said. But to say that he's letting the fan base down, what are people saying on Twitter, on Instagram, on these message boards? I have no idea. I have access to one. I have not even checked it in months. I'm not even going to say which one it is because it's irrelevant. I don't think that message boards are healthy, not for players, coaches, or even fans alike. I don't think it's healthy at all. I think that culture that is there has been around for years. It's not something that's new. Message boards have been around since the early 2000s. I know I was at a game at one point and the guy was like, hey, you ever heard of this? I was like, man, I haven't heard of that message board in years. I thought that was gone. But no, message boards have been around for a very long time. Companies that make money off of allowing people to pay to be a part of message boards. And it's a great way to have a business. I mean, great. But I wonder what he's hearing. I wonder what people around him at school are saying. I wonder what maybe people in his family, hopefully not in his family, but maybe people in his family are saying certain things. I have never ever thought that it would be that bad, but I'm also not a shooter. Now, when I play pickup basketball, I am a guy that was more shoot the 3-point shot, but and then play some defense. I'm not a prolific or an elite shooter like Justin Ahrens. There's a lot of times that I'll play basketball back when I played every single week. This was 4 or 5 years ago. My guy, Robert Salazar, he ended up being on the team, and Robert was a guy. He's a shooter. I mean, he's going to run off picks. He's going to find ways to break it down. He is a shooter. That is what Robert Salazar is. So with Robert Salazar being a shooter, yeah, he's going to get the ball. And if I'm on his team, I'm giving Robert the ball. Yes, there were times that when he was in a shooting slump, he would get a little frustrated. But we're playing pickup basketball after church on a Wednesday. We are playing we are playing pick up basketball, maybe 10, 12, 13 guys. Of course, if you win, you stay on the court. If you lose, next 3 or 4, maybe even 5 guys may come on, rotate that way. That's just the way things are. It's not that you have to go into a press conference after a game and talk about what happened. It's not that you have to listen to maybe sports talk radio or listen to podcast, or maybe you even may read some articles or look at the newspaper if people still do that thing. It's nothing like that. But I wonder how long has this thought been in his head? And then also couple that with, I hope he never thinks that again. Because I think Justin Ahrens, he is a big piece of this team. I think that Justin Ahrens is a player on this team that Ohio State desperately needs if they want to make a deep tournament run. We'll talk about more about what I think about this team going deep into the tournament. It's something that might derail them down the road. Not trying to be a negative Nancy, but I do think they have the possibility to go deep, currently constructed. I also have the idea that they may be out in the first round, currently constructed. And so we'll talk about all that stuff down the road. But for what I do know for right now, Ohio State needs Justin Ahrens' shot. Ohio State plays Rutgers coming up in the Jersey Mike Arena, whatever that new name is. Go back to the RAC. The old names are great. And I do think that in that game against Michigan coming up on Saturday, the rest of the games coming up in this month, may have to squeeze in a Nebraska game and an Iowa game that were postponed. Do all of those things. And Justin Ahrens, I hope this is a start of good play, a start of a more consistent shooting streak for him, because it's great for him when he's shooting, getting those bad thoughts out of his head. But also, number 2, it's great for this team because he is a weapon that I do believe they will need. If they want to win the Big Ten Conference Tournament, they'll need Justin Ahrens. If they want to make a deep NCAA tournament run, they'll need Justin Ahrens as well.